Welcome to the Building Doctor Show with Jens Johansson.
Okay, hello everyone. Happy New Year and welcome back to the Building Doctor Show. I'm your host, Jens Johansson. Glad to see you here to learn more about your buildings with us. First of all, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. And this is actually our first episode of 2026. We're excited to be kicking things off with a topic that we see come up again and again and actually really current in our work. So today we're talking about something that we have nicknamed TownDos. These are buildings that look like condos and behave like condos, but they're not condos. So they're single family townhomes in one building, and under the code and under the regulations, they're viewed as standalone single family homes, even though they share walls. So we call them TownDos. So the problem becomes owners share a roof, owners share a 15-foot board of siding that spans across their party wall. They may share walkways and decks and things that come into them. But because they're not a condominium, they usually don't have the same governance structure or rules or guidelines that a traditional condo would have. So the reason we wanted to start the year with this topic is simple. TownDos create a lot of confusion when problems or construction repairs arise. So we see challenges around ownership, inspections, repairs, cost sharing, decision making, often at the exact time that there's a leak and clarity matters most. So if these issues aren't handled carefully, small problems can turn into bigger, much larger, more complicated. The rules aren't clear. How do we deal with this? So we wanted to talk about that today. So one quick note before we get started, this episode is a little different from our usual format. We're being pre-recorded today. I am not an AI clone yet. But we're being pre-recorded. Our producer, Carolyn, is on maternity leave, so we're excited about her, but she actually makes these things work. So we're pre-recording this. So bear with us. But feel free to leave the comments after you see it. We see those comments. We see the questions that are asked, and we've actually had a couple of questions around this. So we're going to cover that stuff today. And as you sign in to the Zoom format, we can see how you've signed in and registered. And so our giveaways will still work. So anyway, remember, the show is for educational content only. We're not giving legal or financial advice. So with that, let's dive into TownDos, what they are, why they're challenging, and how to approach inspections and repairs the right way. Okay, so today's agenda. Here's what we're going to spend our time on today. We're going to be talking about TownDos, and we're going to walk through some of the most common building issues. And then we'll talk about the bigger challenges that come up with ownership and responsibility when those things aren't clearly defined, because TownDos don't need an operating agreement, or they don't have an HOA, or they don't necessarily have a board of directors. And so they're a little vague. So finally, we'll wrap up with some practical guidance on how to approach this type of work, whether it's inspections and repairs and coordination in a way that protects everybody and the owners involved and that's fair. So be sure to put your questions in the Q&A panel below and just stick around for the giveaways. All right, what is a TownDo? In that phrase, it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, but it's not a duck. So these buildings aren't condominiums. They look like a condominium. They function like one, but they're legally and building permittedly, they're structured as individual single family homes, but they share walls, they share roofs, siding, decks, drainage systems, below grade stuff, maybe parking garages. And so the biggest problem is they lack robust condominium style governance that's part of a condominium act in your state. And you know, because they're not a condo, we don't have to do that, right? So the builder or the developer doesn't have to. I don't have to put in governing documents. You don't have to have a board. You don't have, so all these benefits, but what that causes is this confusion and where do we go from here? And so then permits and building codes are slightly different as well. Basically, the building code, how did we get here? So from a timeline, we've always had single family homes. I've got my yard and my lot and my white picket fence. So then we had multifamily buildings that were apartments. We have a whole bunch of people in individual units and they're renting, so we don't have ownership ability. So then in the 70s, we created these co-ops. The co-ops got a little bit of a problem because, hey, if we like you, you can live here and we'll share operation of the building and we'll be in this community. But if we don't like you, we can vote and kick you out. And so that kind of, that's got a bad taste behind it. So hey, what if I could buy my own apartment in this big building? Hey, congratulations, we're now in condo land. So, and we may not like our neighbor, but we can't vote them out. But there is a set of rules they have to follow. So then we can vote them out. So, and now uh, we're into this. It's a single family home with a really tiny small yard technically because it's a townhome, so it has that first floor. So you've got front steps and back steps and maybe a 5 foot lawn or something, but you do have a yard, and so it's single family homes in one building. And so why did the authorities create this? Obviously, it's infill, it's higher density, and so I can tear down one or two old junky houses and put on a bigger building that has 6 to 8 units. And there's depending on the codes, it's if it's under 8 or 9 units, we or six to 8 or something like that. I forgot the exact code. But if it's under this, it's not a condo. It's single family, even though one building. And so this created kind of this new thing called TownDos. Now, there's some rules. So developer building condos has to follow the Condominium Act in each state. Condominium Act has all these rules and it has these things because we've heard of the urban legend of you've heard of apartment grade, you've heard of developer grade. These kind of had the implication that a little cheaper. It's a little maybe not as robust, or maybe it's kind of builder grade. It's kind of meaning less than single family home quality. Um, so if we're not building a condos anymore as a developer, and I'm not going to be sued under a state act, maybe I don't have to build them as nice. Maybe I can reduce the quality because I'm not being inspected. I'm not building it to a certain standard of manufacturers' warranties and things like that I can get in trouble on. So maybe I can cut some corners here and I won't get in trouble. So we've created this. Are these TownDos less quality? Maybe. We're seeing lots of things in it, and obviously that gets back to the original developer building things. There's good builders out there. So this is how we got there. Okay, so we talked about these zoning and code loopholes, kind of the avoidance of the Condominium Act requirements, faster approvals for developers. So no, these are single-family homes. Don't worry about it. We don't have multifamily requirements. We don't have condominium requirements. Fewer upfront governance obligations. We don't have to set a reserve fund. You don't have dues. You, as the individual TownDo owner, are responsible for everything. You repair it just like a single family home. So there's not this, but we're looking at this building. Here's an example of a building. Who weeds that yard? Who puts bark in it? Who fixes the sprinkler system around it? Who blows the driveway? Who pressure washes this kind of driveway area? Who, everybody has their own garbage can. I get that. But when that mailbox thing needs to be repaired. Who pays for that? Oh, okay. Huh. And so we're getting into these. There's not a lot of decision-making authority and not a lot of, we're all in this together on these common elements. Remember, from a condominium, we all contribute to the roof, we all contribute to the exterior envelope. No. So we're looking at this, you know, these are the doorways, goes into one unit, goes into the other unit. So I go right up this line. No, actually, I come down this line. Here's the party wall, it's called. So it divides these two windows. This is the divider. Oh, maybe you can't see that. This is the separator between these two units. So I know I'm being picky, but I have 6 inches of siding here. Whose is it? Do I pull off that 1 6-inch piece? Well, technically, the left 3 inches is mine, and the right 3 inches is my neighbor's. And, I get it. That window is mine, and that window is my neighbor's. But what about this wall that sits on this landing or deck membrane? Does that membrane go under the wall? Does it wrap up? And is it separate membranes? What about the roof? Does the roof have these individual lines between it, or is it one big roof? And so if water gets onto the roof over here and goes that way, oh, wait a minute. I'm supposed to maintain my area of roof, and I'm actually supposed to pay for my replacement of that shared roof. So what do I do when I want to replace my section of roof? Do I just slice down this big roof, and my area above my unit property line is new and well done, but yours is leaking and it's leaking into my roof? So that's the common element argument that TownDos don't have. And so anyway, we'll keep talking about that. So why problems show up? Okay. Basically, most TownDos look fine when they're new. Issues don't show up till the water starts leaking, and what water always does, finds the weakest point and slowly starts causing damage. It's a couple of years and the caulking fails. Okay. So these shared systems that we have over this building, in this instance, the line goes up there, kind of separates these two units. So it's my sliding glass door, but it's their brick. But the brick is on my patio, but it's not in my unit. So who owns this section of brick? I get that this deck is his deck, but kind of now I'm like, whose brick is this? Whose sealant is this? Okay. Now we all own it, so I'm going to replace the brick. I'm going to match the existing brick. Well, that's his brick, and he's going to put on red brick, or that's his siding, so he's going to go back with hardy. So now I've got brick and hardy. Are there rules that say I have to repair the common elements in a standard way? No. And so we get into this, we're seeing this big absence of a rule book. It used to be a condo, so we used to have these rules and things, but now it's a TownDo, so we don't need to have that. So it poses lots of interesting dilemmas for us as opposed to I'm experiencing a leak in my unit that appears to be coming from that person's unit, but because we're all single family owners, I can't make my neighbor fix the issue that affects me. Ooh, wow. We're grinding to a stall here. So let's keep going. Okay, so here's a lovely image courtesy of Google. So where do we see the problems? We see the problems at all of these horizontal flashing locations. So that metal flashing, these are called parapet flashing caps or deck flashings, roof, typically flat roof, not so much slope. Then we have um, railings, the top mounted railings. So they're bolted right down through the flashing that's trying to protect that flat roof element, if you will. And now we have top penetrations. And so as soon as the sealant fails, the water starts leaking in. Then we have integration issues between the flashing and the cladding. We always have stairwell access to the rooftop decks because these are beautiful. They're three-story townhomes with the rooftop deck. They're just gorgeous. Such nice view up here. But the rooftop stairs and the deck membrane, is it deck membrane? Is it roof? Is it siding? As we come down and tie into these things, is it the right product? And so the number one leaker, these staircases, door thresholds, I have leaks below these kind of little issues. Um, so we've got, and then we've got, disputes again or confusion between neighbors. So this unit has a door that goes out to here and a stairwell that goes up to there. Again, whose siding is this? It's in my stair landing, but it's part of their unit. So maybe I can, okay, it's kind of attached to your box, if you will. Here's our individual boxes, but it kind of looks like the line goes down this side. But in order to replace this siding and wrap the WRB around the corner in that corner, I've got to pull off this cladding so I can kind of wrap it together and put that corner back together. And this unit owner says, don't touch my property. You can't access my property. I don't want any part of this repair or lawsuit or additional expense. So don't you dare touch it. It's my property. Who are you to come onto my property and touch it? So here's the single family home thinking, but we're all in this together, right? We have one big building. It needs to operate well together. Okay, you get it. Here's the dilemma. So I talked about that siding, roof, decks, stairs, railing penetrations, all that stuff. And then just the confusion between that. So here's some classics rooftop deck stairs. So in this picture, I've got the brick and the brick. I've got my staircase that goes up here. If you see through there, you can see some supposed to be roofing membrane that's under that staircase because it is a roof. And then that ties into the top roofing membrane, and it should tie into the landing. Wait a minute. I've got a roofing membrane that's a sheet style product that comes down this chute and now has to tie into this fluid applied or coated product. Always a conflict there. And then what is this sheet product? Is it the same as the roof? A big thing we see is it's not even roofing membrane. It's WRB or weather resistant barrier. So building paper or maybe some wiggle board that we put on the outside of our carport cover. And so it's just we've got all these interfaces. Now I've got this deck interface with siding cladding. This deck membrane is done after the brick. So did the membrane get under the brick and integrated correctly with all the steps in this process? I don't see any flashings there to let the brick drain out. So I'm going to be leaking all around this area. Then when I come to the door threshold, again, the membrane's done sequentially. It's done way after the door's been installed. And so I just have to butt up against the door with a line of sealant that fails. So I'm not in a door pan. I'm not in a, just, so the number one leakers of these has to do with the stairwell entrance or the rooftop stairwell thing. And then we can go out to the other leaks we see. So here's a front balcony, top railing penetration. These are just bolts right through your waterproof membrane, so they're holes. And somebody's relying on a little rubber gasket underneath that bolt head, or maybe they put some sealant on it. So 2 years. We've got a door threshold that just butted up against, doesn't even run under the door. You can see the water swelling on the wood door jamb. from, I'm not even standing on the deck and I can see it. So, and then, back to ownership issues. These are my stairs, my brick, my neighbor's brick. Well, I want to change the stairs out and change this bracket, but I got to bolt my stair into your brick. Don't you dare touch my property. Now you're touching my property. So it has to, we've got to have, at least TownDos don't have a good explanation of common elements. And that's the biggest problem. Okay, so we've got, here's your rooftop deck with your wood decking. Now, roofs have a slope, so they drain. So we want to pitch them, right? So even a flat roof has a little bit of a pitch. Otherwise, you'd have a swimming pool up there. And so, well, it's rooftop deck. So I want my chair level when I'm looking at the beautiful view. So I have to put in either pavers or a wood deck on tapered, meaning triangle, tapered sleepers, they're called. And so the roof has a slope. I put a tapered sleeper on it to make it level. Then I put my decking on top of that, so I have a nice level deck. Now, how do I attach the deck boards to the sleepers? Screws. So if I get down to my taper, I drive the same size screw through. Now I have screws through my roof membrane. Super common. So then again, I've got in this picture, I've got my sleeper resting on my roof membrane. There is going to be some movement, just normal building expansion contraction. I'm up there having a dance party and this deck is rocking. And so this ledger is rubbing away on the roof membrane. And if it doesn't have any slip sheet or rubber bumpers or little legs, that just tears right through the membrane. In order to get this deck off to clean, I have to pull all the deck boards because it's been framed in place instead of palletized, where I can, like a paver system, where I can pull up one paver or pull up one pallet of deck, set it aside, clean under it, put it back down. Most of them are just framed in. So in order to clean annually, I have to take my deck up, get this dirt out so that the drains aren't blocked. Now, if I'm not cleaning my drain and the roof backs up and causes problems to my neighbor, so we don't have rules. Hey, you have to clean your drain. So in a condo, you have these are maintained by the association. Right? So here's some other examples of, this. This is an interesting one, and it's something to look for everyone. This is the partition wall that is between the units. So we've got individual unit rooftop decks, and you've got either this wall or maybe they're planters. What typically happens is we've got one membrane, and then we come back in and frame these little fences or partition walls or planters. And what do? We shoot down the framing in through the roof membrane and creates a bunch of holes. So water just leaks under this and leaks into your unit and the other person's unit because it's coming down that party wall. Disaster. So, okay, here's more of this unit. Here's the stairs. Here's our sliding glass doors. Here's our stair stringer that's on the other side of that. So it's trying to come down this chute, trying to get integrated with the membrane, trying to get integrated with the siding on this side. And it looks pretty sloppy. I can look at that and go, oh, okay, we're trying. Here's the roof, integrated the siding. And this looks like kind of frosting, but obviously just add more caulk. Just do your best and caulk the rest, right? So it's just somebody really just squirted things on there the best they could. This isn't watertight. It's obviously not watertight. Somebody's been up there again and again and again, putting more sealant on it. So we've got door thresholds, stairs, and disconnected waterproofing systems. So, and kind of this top penetration. So here we're back up to our deck. Here's our roof railing because I've got this beautiful rooftop deck. So now I need to attach the railing. So it's top penetrated instead of side mounted fascia mount. So I've got holes right through this. This one has a little bit of that palletized construction I was talking about. You can pull up these pieces. That's nice. This is a railing mount that we can just pull right out of the rotten wood because water's leaking through there. Here's our little probe. It's kind of a close-up of our little pick, our little pick tool. We can kind of just pull back on the roof membrane that was run up the outside of the wall, kind of cut heavy. You can see the cut marks here. So I kind of cut it heavy. I stuck it up there and I caulked it and it lasted for a couple of years till the sealant failed. Yeah. So here's an example of a fascia mount rail. This doesn't have that top penetration. It's mounted on the side, so water tends to flow by it easier. These are 2 years old and we're already rotten. So siding and flashing failures, kind of the same stuff. If you've been watching our show at all, we talk a lot about siding and flashing failures, but high moisture, 29.3 in the sheathing. This meter only goes to 40. Wet is considered something above 15. And so we're wet. We've got white growth on there. And what's happening here, we have this beige color is a nice weather resistant barrier product, WRB, designed to go vertically on the walls only, and it protects. You put siding on top of it, and that's the building's raincoat. It's not meant to run horizontally. That becomes a roof. So we need a roof membrane, or what's here, this extra called peel and stick or self-adhered flashing. It's a thicker product. It's not going the whole, we've got horizontal WRB here. So it's like, well, that's why it's leaking. This product isn't meant to run horizontal. And if this is a shared parapet cap wall again, so let's go back a couple slides. We can look at that. Yeah, one more. Here's the shared parapet cap wall. So that means the property line comes up in the middle of this wall. And, don't forget it's got standing water on it, and that water can leak through seams and stuff, but yeah, whatever. So I own half of this, and my neighbor owns half of that. How do I pull the metal cap flashing off? How do I fix that peel and stick under there? Do I run the roofing membrane halfway over to the wall and don't run it the rest? See, so that this is minutia and I'm being picky, but I'm demonstrating the absurdity of this. Oh, we're all individual single family homes. Yeah, right. Okay. So we all have shared system. Who owns half of this planter? I own the first half, but you own the other half, but it's all one big planter. So I own half the dirt, you own half the dirt. Who's the tree? The tree died. Who gets to replace it? Oh, weird. Anyway, don't worry about that. You're being too picky, Jess. So the ownership issue, the responsibility, the decision fragmentation, and the ability for this unit not to participate. Like, I don't want to participate in your fix. Leave me alone. I don't have to answer to you. You're not part of you. You can't kick me out of the association because I'm not following bylaws and rules and governing documents because we don't have any. Okay, we see where we're going there. All right. Here's another example of where is this party wall? The unit line goes right up there. So here's a panel of siding. This guy owns this much of that panel. This guy owns this much of that panel, but the panel spans across. Wait, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to take my saw and run it right up the property line? Technically. Now I've got, how do I put it back? Do I only paint this much siding. Now I've got this mismatched looking thing. So architectural boundaries of the panel, meaning that piece of 14-foot siding spans the whole thing, or the panel siding spans the whole thing. Access and consent issues. I need to get into there and fix that. No, it's mine. Don't touch it. You can see how somebody that doesn't want to participate, or even worse, wants to say, don't you dare touch my property, and really mess up the thing here. So what if not all unit owners are involved? We can do partial inspections. We can do partial repairs, but you have ongoing risks to the whole building, and you've got future conflicts almost guaranteed. Hey, I fixed my portion of the siding and it looks fantastic. Are you going to fix yours or not? Because it looks like a dump, or it looks like we've got this pattern quilt of a building here, and that's not what I bought. So then we have what's called second round claims. And so these are, it's a 6-unit building. 4 of the unit owners go in on it and they're leading the charge. 2 of them abstain. But then over time, they kind of see, wow, look at all this damage that's being fixed. I wonder if my unit has damage. Well, I don't see any stains on the inside of my unit, so I don't have any leaks. Yeah, you just can't see the damage. And a year later, now the damage becomes evident. It's been leaking for even longer. And now those 2 units have to go file a claim. And so now we run into multiple claims may have multiple approaches, differing opinions, differing knowledge, and second round claims might not have any money. The first round claims against the developer used up all their insurance proceeds. They've closed the LLC. The $1 million insurance policy is exhausted. So the second claim comes and sorry, there's nothing here. So those are the risks of not too many involved. So let's get into too many experts, too many different opinions. Okay, so if you had 2, again, 4 went with 1 lawyer and 1 expert, 2 went with another lawyer and another expert, and 2 contractors, and we're doing our own thing. Leave us alone. You know, I know a buddy. Okay, so we've had several of these, and it's our inspection is more thorough, is more catching all the issues, is so even talking to the other expert on the sidewalk, hey, how's you guys' siding? Well, the siding wasn't showing any problem. It was just the roof. I was like, well, you should come over and look at our siding because, oh, wait, it's the same sider that did the work on this one building. Well, our client didn't want us to look at the siding. Oh, okay. All right. Or, yeah, I know a lawyer. Well, a construction attorney, an insurance construction attorney, or a family law attorney. And they're trying their best and they don't really know how to do this. And so one set of people get this fantastic settlement that fixes everything. The other set of parties, they kind of didn't do a very good job, but they went through it and they got some, and they're discouraged, and they can only do some of the work. Or one contractor was very experienced and said, "Here's exactly how we got to do this project." The other contractor does kitchen remodels on the side, and now they're doing exterior siding and building envelope issues, and they actually kind of mess it up and don't do a good job. So and it's the same building, and it's the same 6 units, and now we've got try to get one team, 1 lawyer, 1 expert, 1 contractor, fix everything. That's the best case. Okay, so we talked a little bit about insurance claims and challenges. So early claims may exhaust coverage. Later damage may not be funded. Partial settlements create inequity between neighbors sharing the same building, so that long-term exposure remains. Even different insurance policies and coverage. And here's I don't know, but is there a master policy on the TownDo, meaning covering the building? Or is it individual unit owners and they all have their own single family home policy? So where a condo clearly has my condo coverage only covers contents and my couch and my interior elements from the paint in, but the common elements are covered under the master policy of the condominium. So maybe somebody who's experienced that can put something in the notes and I can learn something here. But we might even have different coverages and different, if we do have a master policy in a TownDo, and I'm the insurance company, and I've seen that 4 units have been fixed and the other 2 units haven't, but it's one policy for the whole building. I'm not going to issue you an insurance renewal because you have 2 risky units in this building. So buy now the 4 units that did the work versus are penalized, and we can't get insurance for the building because the 2 people didn't want to participate because they didn't have to because of our TownDo requirements. So read the stuff, learn up on that. It's so new, I don't have the answer for you there, but I can see it coming. Okay. So patchwork, we talked about repair stopping at unit boundaries, visible seams, inconsistent finishes, property value concerns. We can't patch over one portion of the roof if we've got a lower roof, being fixed, but the upper roof still leaks and it drains onto it, or that continuous roof, or even if the roof is separated by planters, or the planters just screwed down through the continuous membrane. Okay. So we got to figure that out. So again, why they're hard to fix. So we've got no shared vision or responsibility requirement. The requirement of the condominium association has to deal with the common elements, period. And so they get it fixed, even though they only got 62% vote. There's 38% of the people unhappy that didn't want to participate, but we have a fix happening because they have requirements to fix the common elements. So the TownDo, the 4 and the 2. So disagreement on scope. Maybe you had different experts, different contractors, and somebody's fixing it the cheap way, somebody's fixing it the right way. The cheap way is going to have problems later. We have undefined cost sharing. So the 2 that didn't participate, but 6 months later they want in. Well, the 4, hey, I've been paying for this and dealing with this the whole way along. Why do you now get to jump in and get some of the recovery? I want some cost, pro rata cost sharing, and I want to, hey, pay me back for some of the stuff. I'm fine if you join, and I want you to join, but I want to be reimbursed because now we're dividing it by 6 instead of 4. So how do those 4 get some of their money back? And then warranty limitations of, if you're not fixing the whole thing, you don't have a whole warranty. You have saw cut down that property line. So the contractor's going to say, I fixed this much siding. I didn't fix that. And the leak's coming from there and draining onto mine. So now I have warranty problems. So, okay. So then settlement doesn't equal fix or resolution because, again, we've now got owners who I participated in the lawsuit, but thanks for the money. I'm going to go on vacation. There is no requirement for me to do the fix because it's not a common element. So I'm going to take the money and move. See ya. Okay, lots of things come out of that. But anyway, repairs may be delayed or incomplete. Systems may be compromised, etc. Contractor warranty challenges. We talked about the partial stuff and the interfaces and the long-term risk. And so here's the solution moving forward, or how we've helped our clients in this TownDo situation get it figured out. So start with intent for 100% participation. And it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. You got to get everybody on board. I didn't, I came from a condo. I wanted a TownDo because I didn't want an HOA board harassing me and making me play things. So I might have my barriers might be high, or I just don't see any leaks in my unit. I'm sorry you have leaks in your unit, but I don't have the money right now. I'm not going to pay all this money. So even if not all owners join initially, discuss the option to have them join later and split costs or reimburse early costs, kind of this cost sharing. That's the biggest biggest thing, because we see the first four get mad and then ego angry and say, you had your chance. I'm not letting you in. And so yeah, it's a natural feeling. Try to swallow it and say, okay, here, if you want to participate, let's just make it equal and fair. Try to plan for the entire building. That's the best way to fix everything. We don't have these weird seams. And then avoid designing partial solutions. And I would say, if we get some settlement, commit to fixing it. This is why we went through this exercise anyway. That $40,000 per unit sure sounds like a nice vacation, but let's fix what we got. So then do a unified inspection and design. So one forensic investigation with a good consultant that can lead you correctly. You only get one shot at the cookie jar in this instance of insurance proceeds or any kind of litigation or whatever. They're gonna, if they settle with you, they're gonna make you sign a clean divorce, basically a settlement statement that says, I never want to talk to you again. I'm gonna pay you this money, but never call me again. And so you can't go back the next year and the next year and the next year. You got one chance. And so have one good round of investigating, have one repair strategy, have one technical narrative to how we put this together, and not half the building gets built this way and half the building only gets built that way. So, define cost sharing up front, inspections, design, construction, recovery, allocation, design repairs look uniform, all elevations, continuous, all that stuff. So key takeaways: TownDos behave like condos, except they don't have any rules. So we've got shared systems and we need shared solutions. Patchworking repairs increases risk, and early coordination saves money in conflict. So TownDos aren't bad buildings, but they are misunderstood ones. And so we want to help you with the right approach, and just we're actually bringing duck experience back to this thing that's not a duck, but sometimes fixing the duck is the best way to fix this thing. And so we have to, but there's lacking rules, and so that's the biggest challenge. So your next steps: download the TownDo guide. Here's a little QR code you can shoot with your phone there, and then if you got a question, schedule a consult call with us. It's free. There's another one for you. And then if you need some advice on your building, here's another QR code for just my calendar. Get a one-on-one with me. It's a 15-minute call. I'm happy to talk to you. And this is a standing thing. If you scan it, you can scan it. If you like to type, it's learn.j2consultants.com/consultant. And you can see it on our website. You can find this. That's kind of schedule a call to talk with me, ask me questions. Okay, here we go. We got giveaways. We got nice J2 VIP, Yeti style mug. We've got stickers and planners and all that stuff. So this is how Zoom signed you up. I'm going to pick number 5. So number 5 will win this. We will be able to see who's number 5. We'll reach out to you. We'll get your address and send us out to you. So did you know we have free and paid training for board managers? Scan this QR code again, and you'll be able to see it. But again, learn.j2consults.com/resources for those who like to type. And it's go to YouTube, go to our website. Over 300 videos on YouTube, and a lot of good information there. And it's great for new board members, new boards, new managers. TownDos don't have boards, so concerned residents, and just get everybody on the same page. And stream this. And thanks for tuning in. So see you next month. We are the 4th Tuesday of every month. So look for that and get us on that calendar. So thanks for watching.